Well, good morning. I guess good afternoon. Depends where you are today. Welcome. My name is Anna Raful. I am your host of At This Stage, presented by Camp Broadway and Streamable Learning. I'm live here in my apartment in New York City. So excited to bring to you Broadway professionals on and off the stage, connecting them with you, our students, our families. And
my father-in-law just signed it.
Oh, good. So we got some ringers in the crowd. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today. Our guest is Jill Abramovitz. Hey, Jill.
Hi.
Jill, I'm going to give you Jill's quick bio. Jill, although it's not quick at all, Jill is a seasoned Broadway actress currently starring in Beetlejuice as Maxine Dean and Juno. We have some pictures we'll show you in a little bit. She was also seen in 9 to 5, Fiddler on the Roof, Cinderella, Martin Short, Become Me, and I'm missing one.
No, I think it's 5. I think it's 5. Yeah.
That's perfect. Also, she has been seen in various regional theaters across the country. My favorite, of course, is as the Spanish Princess in Ever After Playhouse. And also, you might recognize her from her tons of TV roles in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, in I lost my thing, The Good Wife, and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Jill is also an accomplished lyric writer, you might have heard her lyrics in It Should Have Been You on Broadway, as well as a couple of shows with TheaterWorks USA, and we're going to talk about all of that today. So hi, Jill, welcome.
Hi, hello. Do I get to see anybody's face or no?
No, just mine, sorry.
Oh, your face is beautiful.
How are you today? Where are you?
I am, what would we call this? This is my dining room. I live in New York, so it's, we have this one big living room, dining room, music room situation, and I'm in one corner of it, which actually we just got a new light. You can't see it. It's one of those ones that's got like the arm that comes over, which
move it all over.
Got a new table, got new chairs, just in time for the coronavirus and all these exciting opportunities. We're going to have to sit at this table under this light.
Perfect. It's like it was made for it. I love it.
Yes, in New York City. I don't know if I mentioned that.
In New York City. So friends that are watching, feel free to start sending those questions in. If you want to use the Q&A function, that's sort of the best I can find all of your questions. But Jill, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What's your earliest memory of theater? How did you get involved with theater?
Okay.
What made an impression as a young Jill?
Yeah, it's something I always wanted to do, and maybe it's because I always had very big feelings. But I do remember there were a couple formative experiences. One was when I was it was either kindergarten or first grade, they did a production of Cinderella, of all things, which is funny to me because I did the Broadway show for 2 years. And there was an audition and they had people come up to read the script. But I think I could have nailed it, but I didn't know how to read script yet.
Okay.
And I thought that's what they meant. I thought they were talking about cursive writing, but it was just a script. So I was too scared and intimidated to audition. So I wound up getting cast as one segment of a 5-segment worm in Cinderella. And then
I didn't know there was a worm in Cinderella.
Yeah. It was really like inclusive casting at my school. And we wound up the day of the performance getting stuck around a standing microphone and falling on the ground. So that was to me an indication that this was very special and I needed to continue doing this with my life. And then I think I also played Ichabod Crane, the headless horseman, his wife in 2nd grade. Those were the formative experiences. But yeah, I was very intimidated by it. When I was a kid, they were auditioning for Annie, the actual Annie on Broadway. And so everyone in the New York tri-state area was going in and auditioning. And I was a very intimidated kid. So I did an audition. I remember people I knew, my best friend, she wouldn't be embarrassed if I said this. She is not a singer. She can't hear a tune. She can't hold a tune. She auditioned for it, but I was too intimidated to do it, but I wanted to. I wish I did. It took me a long time to get over being intimidated. You're not alone if you find all of this intimidating.
I think we have some friends that feel that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then did you go on to study theater in high school, in college?
So then I always did. I always did theater. And I always was in choir, and I wound up doing like regionals and all state and all Eastern and all that stuff. I'm still a big choir nerd. I love it. It was like the best experience of my life. And I always did shows, and I was like the lead, once I realized that script didn't mean cursive, or maybe once I learned how to read cursive, everything changed. But so I got cast as like, lead roles in my high school and junior high school. And then when it was time to go to college, and then I did my first professional show the year after I graduated high school at a dinner theater in New Jersey, where I grew up. And then when it was time to go to college, I did not go to a conservatory. I think there are many great routes to this business. Mm-hmm. I think you need to be a little bit stronger and able to take rejection and everything to go right into a conservatory. Sure. I don't think I would have been mature enough to do that. It's possible that I needed to be, the big fish. I might have gotten too overwhelmed if I'd gone straight to a conservatory. That being said, people who go to a conservatory sometimes have a leg up earlier on professionally, because they help hook you up with agents, and you've got your showcase in everything that everyone comes to see in New York. And I do know that a lot of people, having worked professionally with a lot of people who've gone to conservatories, they seem to have a slightly easier transition into being a working actor. That being said, I don't think it was right for me. I also I also wanted to get a liberal arts education, and so I went to an academic school, and I performed there too. I always was doing shows, and I played Sally Bowles in cabaret in my freshman year. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. And I wouldn't trade it. Sorry.
Go ahead. Did you major in theater, or did you major in something else?
I didn't, but I always did shows.
Sure.
So anywhere you go, you can do shows. And I really, really, really believe, for those of you who are listening, that the best training is doing and watching and being a student, always being a student, whether you're in a conservatory or not. I think one of the best experiences I ever had learning was I was in the lab company at the Hangar Theater, and we were sort of the ensemble of the play A View from the Bridge, which was directed by Michael Mayer, and was very similar to The View from the Bridge that he directed on Broadway a couple years later. And we played the ensemble, the townspeople he created kind of this Greek,
chorus.
Yeah, we weren't even a chorus, but we filled it in between to help create the idea of the world. To this day is my favorite play. And we would be on stage watching every single night, watching those performers. And I think watching and learning and doing ultimately is the best school, if you are really committed to watching and learning. Now that's separate from professional advancement and getting jobs. Right. As far as that's concerned, I think the other great thing, you had Zena on here yesterday, Zena Goldrich, who's one of my best friends, and I love her so much. And I met her doing the Theater Works workshop of Junie B. Jones, which I wound up doing many iterations of. And those Theater Works workshops, I feel like I made so many great professional. I'm sorry, am I getting ahead of myself?
No, but will you explain a little bit further what you mean by a workshop? So what was, because you talked about her end. So as you as an actor, and you've done a couple different workshops of Broadway shows too.
I've done more workshops than I can count as a performer and also as a writer. Sure. Workshop is a part of the development process. I know Junie B. Jones is the best, right? I know, it's the best. Writing down the story of my life, I cannot listen to without crying. And ask my husband, who's an amazing composer, Brad Alexander. He's written a lot of shows for Theater Works. Junie B. Jones is like
the top
one of his top 3 shows. He loves it so much. So anyway, a workshop is a really great part of the developmental process. And when I say the developmental process, I mean a Broadway show or any show is a huge commitment financially, artistically. I mean, in every way you could possibly, logistically, every way you could possibly imagine. And so in order to have a show reach an apex, be that a national tour or Broadway theater, there are many development stages along the way. The first might be, okay, we've just written this, let's get around a table and press play on some demos we made, and then have some friends say it out loud. And then if there's a producer involved, they might throw some money at it and say, okay, we're going to do a reading, which means we're going to pay actors to sit around and read from the scripts and learn the music. A workshop would be the next step. Right. Although it sort of changes year by year, but a workshop would be the next step, which would mean you're on your feet doing staging off book, which means you've memorized it, but with very crude sets and costumes and only for a few invited people. But all these ways are like they're like betas, they're like test versions of the show. And there are changes being made daily, and you're getting new pages in your face daily. And
so you might learn a song and the next day they've changed lyrics or melody or
cut the song.
Right?
Yeah. And so that is a kind of conservatory in a way, being in workshops, because you have to be so nimble, you have to be so flexible, and you have to be ready to like throw it out. And I've done workshops, like small workshops. I've done gigantic, big workshops. When I did the workshop of Cinderella, it was pretty big. I mean, we had facsimiles of sets, and it was high stakes, and there were incredible, huge choreographed dance numbers that ultimately were just cut. Because they, you have to see if something works, because it's a huge investment. People have to put a lot of money into these things to make them work. And a number can be so incredible, but just take you off course. And if people think it's going to keep people from coming to the show or buying tickets, or if it's not along the spine of the story, or not serving us, or the audience is getting bored, it has to go, because the show's got to be good.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's go. I'm going to jump ahead a little. So let's go to your, not big break, but what was your Broadway debut? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my big break, and whatever, big break is such a silly sounding word, but it is for me, it was like a very, I would put a bookmark in that chapter of my life. That was exciting. That was one of the best days ever. So it's called Martin Short, Fame Becomes Me. I don't know if anyone here knows that show. It's from 2006, I believe. And I had seen the announcement for the audition for the workshop, actually, about 9 months or a year before. And I emailed my agent at the time, and the description of who they were looking for. They needed someone to, it's so good, you should check it out, Lexi. Really funny, really silly, really, really, really silly. Basically, sort of like Saturday Night Live musical. It was like a fake version of Martin Short's life. And I hope you guys all know who Martin Short is, because
definitely look that up.
The best. He is, we worship, I bow. He is a comedy god, and a great person, and was very good to me, and good to everyone around him. Anyway, so I had seen the audition for this workshop, and it was a description of me, like everything I could do. I just called my agent. I was like, get me in for this. And then I got the audition, and I was out of town on vacation. So I, for some reason, I guess I couldn't come back in. I don't know, but eventually it came back around about 9 months later. They were still looking for a woman to cover Nicole Parker and Mary Birdsong, two other dear friends of mine who are talented geniuses. And when I went in, it was very, it was one of those things where when it's right, it's right.
It's right.
And I auditioned for an assistant at Telsey Casting, we love Telsey. They're just awesome. Yeah. And I've gotten most of my theater jobs in life from them. But they're one of many wonderful casting companies in this town. Anyway, so I went in and there was an assistant. I did my stuff. I came back the next day. I auditioned for a room full of the most incredible people: Martin Short, Scott Whitman, Mark Shaman,
Amazing.
Chris Gattelli. And it was one of those things where it felt right. And then I had to go for a callback at Mark and Scott's apartment in their studio. And
that's not intimidating.
They started telling me about the show, and I was standing there like, okay. And Scott Whitman, I'll never forget it, said to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, you got the job." I was like, "Oh, okay," which is not normally how it happens. Normally,
right.
Your agent calls or something.
Right.
And I held in my tears until I walked into their building. I was in the elevator sobbing.
Oh my
and
God.
of course I called, I can't remember, was I married at that point? No, I was not married. I probably called my mom and my now husband, Brad, but I remember going, I can pay my credit card bills and I'm going to be on Broadway. In one, I don't remember which order I said it.
Right, of course.
Okay.
That's a good story. I like that one. Oh, by the way, you got it. That's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got the job.
You got the job. I love this. Okay, I'm going to start going through some of these questions because we have so many, and this is actually one that we talked about.
Sorry,
Elizabeth.
that was pretty long-winded. Sorry.
No, it's a great story. So we're going to jump to Beetlejuice. Elizabeth has a question, which shows my prep. Elizabeth says, what's it like to have so many costume and makeup changes in Beetlejuice? Is that stressful? So here comes your picture.
Oh, here we go. Yes, there I am.
There you are in 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's not stressful. It's fun. For me, it's fun. I mean, the more characters that I got to, and actually, in fact, Martin Short Fame Becomes Me was all quick costume changes, throwing on a wig. I mean, insane fast changes. It can be very stressful to have quick changes, but these are all, I have a decent amount of time in between. So for me, it's just a gigantic gift. I mean, and then when I got the role of Juno, the beautiful Carol Shelley, who is no longer with us, originated that role. And when they originally were looking for replacements to come and do it. And then I think they decided, well, why don't we just stay internal and let Jill do it? It fits with her track. And when they
sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna have you take us through the order here of the four.
Sorry. Yeah. So we're a little out of order here. So it starts with the black funeral costume on the right, which I love because it's like one moment where I just get to look like a nice, pretty lady. And then there's a change that's not in here. That's just the choir, which is not a hair change, not a makeup change. It's just a costume change, and I have plenty of time. And then there's a big change to Maxine, which is purple on the left. And that is a wig change, a makeup change, a costume change. This dress is like, I always say, it's like a car. I mean, it is so well built. And there's also all this really great underwear underneath it. I always like to say I'm wearing like $600 worth of shapewear under there. Sure. And yeah, that's then what is a little bit stressful is after Maxine in the purple dress, then it's intermission and I have to get into Neighbor Lady in the short red wig and the blue dress. And that's a little stressful because it took me a while to figure out how to get all this makeup off and a new makeup plot on. And like I used to be an eyelash change, and I had to stop it because my eyelashes, my eyelids were just taking a hit. Like it was my face was not going to make it through. So I try to strategically take off makeup around where I can. I have to take off all the lips. I take off most of the eyeshadow. I use coconut oil. I use so much coconut oil. And I don't even bother wiping it off because everything is going to come off at the end of the night. And so that's a padding. So that I can't get into that. That's two parts. It's first these giant legs. They're not giant, whatever, but they're, you put those on, that I can put on and they stay up with a suspender. But then there's the top suit, which is like a bathing suit with padding, and that has to be fastened and everything. And I can't do that by myself. But again, I have intermission for this. So someone's helping me. And then I redo the makeup after I've taken off much of what do I not do? I guess I take off most of it. I just work around the lashes so I don't have to take the lashes off.
Right.
Because two lash changes per show, like that's your eye, it starts to really hurt and they get all red and you're like, plus my eyelashes are all screwed up anyway from this. Like they're falling out. And then the change to Juno, she's in the suit smoking, is I keep on the padding, and it's a huge rig underneath to get that smoke trick going, which my dresser Liz helps me through all of this. We've got like PVC tubing, which is strapped down via elastics, and it's plugged into a pack in my back that activates the smoke, and it's connected to a wire with a clicker in my hand. Like you can see right there, my hand is down, my left hand is in sort of a loose fist. That's got a clicker in it. Oh. And when I press the button on the clicker, there's a wire that goes up my arm into the back of my pack. It activates the smoke machine, which sends smoke through PVC tubing that goes around my front and out of my throat. So we get all that on, and then I take all the rest of the makeup off, again working around the lashes, and do a totally new makeup change and get new hair. The end. So it's fun though. It's not stressful because it's never quick. The only quick change I have is at the end of the show, going into my black and white version of the red suit for bows, and it's not even that quick. If this were quick, it would be scary.
And do you do the same order of things every time when you're doing your changes?
Yes. Do I? Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, for changes I do, because it involves Liz, my dresser, so she has her own backstage track. I mean, that's the other thing that I always wish people knew, like everyone on the crew everyone's got a crazy orchestrated backstage track. So I know that she has to get me, I can't stop and talk to anybody, even though this is getting into Juno isn't a quick change. I can't stop and chit chat because Liz has to get me ready because she has a change after me. So, it's like a real orchestrated dance back there. And like, it's nutty. I mean, you can't go down to a spot early because you could get slammed in the head with someone running off stage to make their quick change. So it's very intense back there. I mean, it's fun, but it just means you have to take it seriously because people's safety is at stake. In fact, as recently as, a month ago, I was a couple seconds late to get into my preset for the choir. So if you've seen the show, there's the Beatle choir. We come out during Fright of Their Lives. It's pretty early on in the show. And many of us are preset behind the attic, which means we're in the set for the whole scene. We're hidden, and then the set opens and we come out. Yeah, it's fun. And that what this showed, we weren't in the original. In the workshops, we weren't back there, but as we progressed, they added us. And so I was late to get to my preset behind the attic, and I took kind of a shortcut, and that happened to be a moment that a giant drop was coming down. And of course I was like cluelessly walking down the street like Forrest Gump, having no idea. And later I got a major talking to, like, you cannot take that shortcut. We almost had to stop the show because you could have we don't even want to say what could have happened to you, because the drop is a very heavy drop moving quickly.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, I got another question that goes along with that. So Rochelle is playing two characters. I mean, you play 5 really in one show hard. How do you keep it straight? How do you prepare for something like that when you're given a script and you're said, okay, you're not just playing one person, you're playing 5?
Yeah, well, I would say a lot of my, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but that is, doing characters is kind of a thing that I have always loved to do and have always done. And I've done it like in a lot of theater work shows where like like in Junie B. Jones, for example, I forget who said they liked Junie B. Jones, but I played this crazy 7-year-old, this like hyperactive lunatic 7-year-old, but then I also played Junie's mom. And that was a quick change. That was a crazy stressful quick change, like into like a hairband with a sensible mom hairpiece with a baby Bjorn, like adult outfit from crazy bossy head May, who was like, like a weird sort of monkey child. Anyway, so I had good training getting in and out of different characters.
Sure.
But I also think some people, like, I just consider myself like a big ding dong. Like, I'm always doing characters and stupid stuff. So for me, it's kind of where I'm comfortable.
Sure.
Doing accents and changing physicalities and things. But that doesn't mean it's still not challenging. I mean, getting Juno in my body and finding a version of her that worked for the team, for the writing, for the show, for the stakes. I mean, when she started, she was more of a like, okay, all right, listen up. And that was fun for me, but it wasn't high stakes. She has to be almost a villain. She has to be a villain who could kill.
Right.
So I worked with this really amazing guy named Lorenzo Pizzoni, who's a physical trainer and a clown and an actor, like an actual clown. And he taught me, we worked on a lot of stuff. Is her body forward? Is her body back? Where does her pelvis go? How are her legs turned? Where are her aches and pains? Where's her power physically? So we had to work on it. Sometimes it comes really naturally. It's like one of your, as my friend calls, central clowns, but sometimes you have to really arrive at it and chip away at it.
That's amazing. Where does
very long-winded, sorry.
No, I love it. All right, Daphne wants to know, was there ever a time where you felt like you weren't going to make it or the odds were against you? She also says, I love your work, by the way, and your dedication.
Well, thank you, Daphne. Every moment of every day is the answer. I think once you get, I was not young when I got my first Broadway show. I mean, I should give you my mother's number, and she can tell you how many times I called her sobbing after an audition and just going, I can't take it. I can't take it. And she just never stopped believing me. Like, it's 1,000% about my mom letting me call her and cry. I mean, as a mother now, I can't even imagine how painful it is for parents to listen to their kids feeling like they're failing. It took a long time, and it was a lot of doubting and wondering. And even now I'm going, what's going to happen?
Sure.
What's going to happen to this industry? Who knows,
Sure.
But I do think a couple things. I think learning from failure is really, really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people about the movie Creed 2, and you can close your ears if you don't want any spoilers or mute me for a second. But, Creed 2 is about learning how to win the long game. Like there was a fighter who won every round in the first 2 rounds, but then he didn't have the stamina to go the long game. And I do think it's about that. I think it's about being strong for the long game. And that certainly can involve having survival jobs and learning other skills, because it's going to have to you're going to have to support yourself and pay your bills while you're going. I also think it's about understanding your time. I have an understanding of myself, which is as a character woman.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, well, hold on, give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. My son has a FaceTime play date, and I have to give but I gave her his iCloud number.
Oh, so they'll call him.
They'll call him.
Sorry.
My son has a really busy schedule on FaceTime, and he's literally hosting his own Zoom meetings.
I love that.
Yeah, but understanding that I'm a character woman, I was gonna take a little longer to settle in for the right type for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yes, I felt like I was failing all the time, and I was always worried. And yeah, I don't know if that's inspiring or not. I mean, I hope it is inspiring, because it's so. you're not alone. You're not alone. And everyone feels it all the time. And I also like to say, you know, like compare where you are now to where you were 5 years ago. Don't compare, be in your own, I don't want to say competition, but just be on your own journey. You know, Marcy, I remember said, keep your eyes on your own paper. Don't look left or right, just look up. You know, stay on your own journey, because everyone around you is a different person. They look different. Their skill set is different. What you do is what you do, and no one else can do it. So don't look to the left or the right, because it'll drive you crazy. It'll eat you up. And the best antidote to jealousy or any of those kinds of icky feelings is gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I am so grateful for all those TheaterWorks workshops I did, where I met Marcy and Zena, where I met Larry O'Keefe and Nell Benjamin, where I met my husband, that I now have my son. That was great training. I mean, it's my own experience, and I have to be grateful for it and be on my own track. So I offer that to you guys.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Just to switch gears for a quick second, because I want to talk about it. So you also are, like I said earlier, an accomplished lyricist. How did that come about? How did you start writing?
Oh, this actually is a perfect segue. So I started writing because I wasn't getting hired as an actor, and I had a lot of stuff. I had things to get out. I had things to say, and so I started writing it, actually, and it was based on a survival job. I used to transcribe, and who knows, I probably will again at some point, maybe. For, you know, news shows, and you know, you would transcribe interviews, like when you watch 60 Minutes or something, there's raw interview that they need to look through and see, okay, we're going to use this tonight, we're going to use that tonight in this segment. So I would transcribe the raw interviews, and I would get a lot of ideas listening to stories about people. And one story inspired me to start writing lyrics, and I started writing a musical, which nothing has ever really happened with, but my now husband, Brad, who's an amazing composer, Brad Alexander, if I haven't been plugging him enough, because I always do. He heard some of my stuff. I put together a demo, and I recorded a demo when I was in Jackson, Wyoming, actually my favorite place in the world, doing a show out there. And he heard it, and he went, you know, you're a writer. I was like, I don't know. He said, no, you are. So then he encouraged me to apply to the BMI workshop, which was kind of another life-changing experience. Just being in a workshop, standing up in front of a room, presenting songs, getting criticized to your face, but boy, oh boy, it makes you strong. It makes you learn. And so that started happening. What was the question, Anna? I don't even
just
know.
what, like, how did that get started, and what you're saying,
Yeah.
and where, and how do you balance the two? Tessa wanted to know, you know, do you be able,
Yeah, it can be hard to balance, but I think more and more, you know, when I was starting out, people weren't writing and directing, but I feel like since iPhone technology and there's so much technology that allows people to create their own work now. And so more and more and more I see, you know, if you ask anyone who I did Cinderella with, they'll say Jill was always sitting in a corner with her computer on her lap. And now I feel like everyone's in a corner with their computer on their lap. Like everyone's up in their dressing room in between their scenes and working on projects, working on scripts, creating content for their web thing or their Instagram page, whatever it is. Their Instagram page, whatever, their Instagram. I still say iPod sometimes, so go easy.
I mean, it's a thing, yeah.
Yeah, so it can be a lot to balance. And like, for example, this show that I wrote, The Dogs of Pripyat, we just had a big concert at the Green Room 42, and putting that together while doing a show, 8 shows a week, was a lot. It can be a lot. Like there are certain times when it gets to be more. But we, you know, I'm writing another show with Brad, my husband, and this wonderful writer, Eric Forrest Jackson. We have meetings, you know, even during this, we've been having meetings constantly just over FaceTime. So you fill in the cracks. It's fine. You know, it's hard to balance, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, a couple more questions. So you have been successful also on small screen and TV and film. What do you find is the biggest difference between yourself in the two, especially as like you said, you play sometimes larger than life characters,
right,
stage.
right. It's interesting. I mean, when you're doing, listen, I haven't done a ton of TV and film, but I do love it. And in fact, I one of my personal bummers with everything shutting down is I had a recurring role coming up on a television show, and after the first episode, they stopped production. So I didn't get to do my other episode. But I think it is different, and it takes a few times. One difference that's I think is fantastic is once you work on television or on film once, you look at yourself and you go, oh, I blink too much. And then you can adjust it. Like, it's so easy because you're your own worst critic, which sometimes is bad, but sometimes can be good. Whereas theater, you can go 20 years and never know that you crinkled your eyes too much when you were singing high or whatever, which is a true story. Someone has said to me, you go like this.
From experience.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I didn't. So that's one great thing. It's what are the differences? I think it's really fun. I love working on television, but it's tricky because the camera's right here. So you only have to act as far as that. Now it can depend because different shows have different tones. So the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is a little bit more heightened. Sure. So it's about knowing like where the camera is. So the audience is where the camera is. Right. If it's a close up, if it's a wide shot, whereas in theater, your audience is, you still need Sally's info? I did. Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry, here we go. Right here. It says she started here. Take that info. Sorry. So you're only acting to where the camera is. So like I just did this episode of Chicago Med, and I was very fortunate to be working with Oliver Platt, who's like, I've always worshipped him. Amazing. And if you look at it, I mean, we're right next to each other and we're talking basically like this. I mean, it's like, it's this loud. You're not projecting. Right. It's very quiet because it's as you would talk to another person right next to you. But then in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, it's a little bit more heightened and everyone's a little bit more on and it's a little bit more technicolor. And so, and some of the shots were from further away, so I could be a little bigger. So it's, for me, that's a fun challenge, like gauging, reading the script, watching the show first, gauging what the tone of it is, gauging how big you can be with your face. You can be a little bigger on the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, a little bigger than you can, let's say on Chicago Med or SVU. Yeah. I'm still learning. Yeah. But what I love about it is you can learn very quickly because you can see the results really quickly. Sure. And now with all this technology, you can practice. You can practice on your phone. I mean, with self-tapes, you can watch your self-tape. I just had to do a self-tape for something where it was heightened. It was a little more character-y. She was more of like like an Italian, like, I don't know, what am I going to do? What am I, and she could be a little bit bigger because the descriptions was that the family is all larger than life. Yeah. Whereas if I'm going in for, a lawyer on whatever show, it's going to be like, well, did you file the complaint?
Just a little different between the two.
Yeah.
Okay, last question we ask everyone.
Oh, last? Really?
Sorry, I gotta cut you off. It's the worst. Okay. So Camp Broadway, our motto is develop your character. So I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
that's great.
What character mean to you?
Oh, that's good. That's easy.
Oh, good.
Develop your character means be in the world. Don't just think about theater or musical theater. Read the paper, learn about things that are different from you, talk to different people, read books that have nothing to do with theater. I believe this so strongly. And I think, even though it took me a longer to get to a place where I felt like I was working, I am really glad I went to a liberal arts college. I also I think going to a conservatory is an amazing choice too. But one thing that gave me is an exposure to the world and people who do things that are totally different from what I do.
Yeah.
I think you can do that no matter what you do, no matter where you go to college. But yeah, I feel really, really strongly that you have to be a citizen of the world in order to be a performer. Because when you're, for example, watching your favorite TV show, you don't want to see actors, you want to see characters.
Right.
Uh-oh, my internet connection is unstable.
You're good. Keep going. We can hear you.
That's it. I mean, shows are about people. They're about people who own dry goods stores in the 1800s or in the 1900s. They're about, matchmakers. They're about Jews on the shtetl who are not actors. They are people of the land. So like learning about the world is only going to make you a better performer and a more interesting person to be around. Oh, that's the other thing I like to say, develop your character. I spoke to my high school about, we did an interview with, they were doing alumni interviews, and I referenced something and my friend said, yes, that reminds me of the airport test. Someone had said, if you have to, let's say you're traveling on business with someone, or you're in a rehearsal room with someone and you're stuck with them for a lot of time, you're going to want to work with people who are great to be around. So be a great person to be around, so the airport test was, this business person said, if I'm hiring someone, I want it to be someone that if I'm stuck in the airport all day, we're traveling together, it's a great person to be around. So be a great person, like show up on time, be happy to be there. That was a big one for me. When I started writing, I didn't realize how much the writers can see all the actors. As actors, we're all thinking like, please like me, please like me. But writers, we're all thinking, please like me, please like me.
Right.
So let the people who you're working with know that you think they're great and you're happy to be there. And you're not looking at your phone, waiting to be someplace better. So that is huge, 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 huge. And in fact, I know people who were not hired for jobs because, or who were let go from jobs because they were on their phones, and certain higher ups in the room said, we want people who want to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. How can people find you, follow you on all social media?
So I am, what am I, Jill A online at Instagram and Twitter. And is there another one that we do? Oh, we do Facebook. Right. I took it off my phone. It's too overwhelming. I feel
staring at phones too long.
But I am on Facebook. I think it's just my name, Jill Abramovitz, which is ABRAMOVITZ. But yeah, thanks for all your questions. I really feel honored that you all showed up.
Thank you for coming and spending your time. Make sure to follow all of Camp Broadway on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on everything. We're off tomorrow, and Monday we come back with Andrew Gorin, who created Harmony Helper, which is a fantastic app. He will explain all about that. Helps you find your harmony. I wish this was around.
Wow.
I started, and he will come and do a demo. So come back, join us then. Thanks, guys.
So
Thanks,
cool.
Jill.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have a great day.